I think it often feels quite loaded, because I think as we come into parenting, we come with our own baggage. We come with what our parents did that we said we were never going to do.
How do you not screw up your kids? I shout when I'm tired and I let the kids have too much screen time. They seem happy, but I keep worrying I'm doing damage without realising. Does anyone else feel like they're failing even when they're trying their best? So this was a mum on one of our Netmums forums. So Maryhan, you're a psychologist. Where do you stand on this?
Okay, let's start with this. We are all going to do something that's going to in some way screw up our kids, and I think we just need to accept that. The difference is when we do is the intentional stuff. Yeah, we don't actually set out to do that. And I would say that nobody talks about the digital dangers for parents. Yet we talk about digital dangers for our children, but we don't do that for our parents. And actually it creates that connectedness that we have with others is wonderful in some ways, but what it does do is fuel comparison. And it fuels this notion of this is how I should be parenting. If I don't do this, then I'm going to screw up my kids. And in lots of ways, you could argue that I'm part of the problem rather than the solution, because I'm one of those experts saying this is what you should be doing. So I think the first thing I would say is that 100% every parent feels that. They're either feeling it all of the time or they're feeling it at certain times. And so that I think there are some genuine things that we can do to help us. And I think I've got sort of a few things here. I think one is about a digital detox. So if we are looking at whatever social platform you have with the perfect family and the perfect, homemade and all of the rest of it, is that I'm a really bad parent because I'm not doing that. So I think if that is for you, and it won't be for everybody, would it be helpful to have a bit of a detox? Is it helpful to have a bit of an audit of who you're following and who you're connected with and what shows up in your feed? Or actually, is it a case of, I'm just going to offload it. I'm going to take it off my mobile device and I'm going to just do a week without it and see what happens, a day without it. So it could be that we need a detox. I think one of the most important things I feel as a parent is about finding our tribe, finding other like-minded, non-judgmental, and what I say about that is, it should be okay with your tribe to say, quite frankly, right now, I really don't like my children. I don't like being a parent at all. And if I could run away, I would. We should be able to say that. And I know in lots of ways with social platforms, there's a certain element of that, but we want to be able to say that in a non-judgmental way. And for our tribe to be able to say, I hear you, I see you. Do you know what? Can I have your kids? Let me take them for you for the day, half a day, an hour, whatever. It's having like-minded people that we can be really honest with, and we don't have to pretend that it's all going well and that it's all hunky-dory. I do think that parenting is helpful if we can do a bit of reflection. Now, I'm a massive fan of journaling. I know it's time-consuming, and I'm not suggesting that when you're juggling a job, multiple children, a household, maybe even aging parents, it's really difficult to do that. So maybe the reflection is just simply in your head when you're having a shower. Okay, I'm noticing I'm getting a bit snappy at the moment. I'm noticing that I'm being really unkind to myself. What can I do? Who can I have a conversation with? So I think that can also be helpful. And then my biggest one that I talk about that I think is a really helpful way for us to see things is to imagine we've all got a bucket. Our children have a bucket too, so this is really helpful for their emotional dysregulation. But I think in terms of our kindness to ourselves, we all have a bucket, and that bucket's filling throughout the day. And we don't normally notice that bucket is filling until that last drop goes in, and we suddenly go into, I'm the worst parent in the world. Why was I even allowed to have children? My kids are going to be so screwed up. They're going to need therapy for the rest of their lives. Whatever that is. So part of it is about recognizing what are the things that fill our bucket. And there will be some commonalities. Yes, days have different situations, but there may well be things like, am I getting enough sleep? So I'm already waking up sleep deprived. Yeah. So it's thinking about those bits. So that's one bit, which in some ways we can't always control. But what we can control is what we do to empty the bucket. And those are things that genuinely empty the bucket. And there's a difference because, you can get those lovely glass jars that have a tap. So there is a tap, that genuinely empties the bucket, but there's also another tap that we think is emptying the bucket, but it isn't. And that's the tap that is, we find ourselves mindlessly scrolling for hours. So that's just switched, that's just press pause. That doesn't empty the bucket. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but it doesn't empty the bucket. What empties the bucket may well be, it'll be different for each of us. It might be that 5 minutes to have a cup of tea, a shower uninterrupted, a conversation with a friend, a walk, doing something that we love that has got nothing to do with parenting. So it's being aware and then checking in with ourselves, particularly when we're having those moments of really thinking that we're failing. Might my bucket be a bit full? What could I do for 5 minutes that might empty a little bit of it?
It feels like that bucket is on my chest sometimes. That's a really nice visual, because I do feel like you said at the beginning, you probably are going to screw them up. While I'm trying not to screw them up in this way, the way I was, I'll probably drop something over here and it'll be something else, because we're human.
And I think it often feels quite loaded, because I think as we come into parenting, we come with our own baggage. We come with what our parents did that we said we were never going to do. Mm-hmm. There may well be some stuff that we've not yet processed through, and maybe we had difficulties at school with friendships, and our child comes to us with friendship issues, and then we feel like we failed because how could I have repeated history here? Why did I not see this? So I think there has to be a certain element of compassion and kindness to ourselves, which is why I think the tribe is such an important piece, because we can't fix how we were parented. We can only work on what we're doing with our children.
100%. And the famous quote, Maya Angelou,
when we know better, we can do better.
That's exactly it. We do what we can with the knowledge we have until we get more knowledge, right? So it's like breaking the cycle. It's being more aware of yourself. But I love that you mentioned about the digital, the social media detox, because obviously social media ban at the moment is a huge conversation within the UK. It's, there's potential that it is going to be banned. It's up with Parliament, so it's a big thing. But I feel like we're focusing a lot on the kids when actually, it's the adults. It's the adults that are struggling with the social media. And exactly like you said, I saw a meme on Instagram the other day, and it said, remember, one day in 20 years' time, your child is going to be sat at a dinner table explaining their childhood to somebody just like you do now. And I was like, I don't know how that's meant to make me feel, but that feels really heavy.
Yeah. But that's the thing. There's so much of this weight around the first 5 years are when the brain works the hardest. And so we're then caught up in that, maybe I need to do musical lessons and, all of this sort of stuff, 3 different languages. And the pressure is unbelievable. The weight, the burden, the load, so that we're constantly second guessing. And even when you're really clear on your lane, this is how we're going to parent, these are the things that are really important to us, you only have to have a conversation with a parent at the school gates, and suddenly it's like, my child is not doing enough. They're not going to get into university. They're not going to get a good job.
100%. I was very, very comfortable and happy with our decision that my child doesn't do a lot of extracurricular. He does swimming as his main, because that for me is the whole life skill thing he's going to learn. But anything else, we don't push anything. But then when I hear that they're doing taekwondo, they're doing this, they're doing that, I then think, oh my God, is our son a potato? Should he be doing more? And it does throw you. And that's even without the Instagram piling on top of that. So I really like this idea of admitting that the social media, the knowledge, the talking to people is really helpful, but know what you value and what you want to be your family life and how you're bringing them up. Because what you said before about experts, so for example, and we're probably part of the problem as well, because we talk to the experts and then we say to parents, I don't like the word should when it comes to parenting, because I don't think parents should do anything. I think it's a case of, do you know what? This is the research. This is my knowledge. Have at it. Have what works for you. Cherry pick what works for your family. I don't know your kids. I don't know your way of working.
And I think that what then happens particularly when we have these shoulds, is that as parents, we lose sight of the instinct that we have. And it's interesting because I've always felt that as parents we have an instinct, and I've done a lot of research on this. There is no evidence that we do have an innate parental instinct when it comes to making decisions about how we parent. There's lots of evidence around parental instinct medically, as in we know we've got a gut instinct about what might be wrong with our child or what needs to happen. But what we do know about parental instinct is as we become more experienced as parents and we go through that time with our children, we do build a certain instinct. And I think that's what we have to hold on to, is that nobody knows your child more than you. So when we're presented with information, it's about trusting that doesn't feel right for my family, or that feels right for this child, but absolutely not right for that child. And I sort of truly believe that when we raise children from a reverse engineering, and that's value driven rather than experience driven and curated, it's what's the output? What kind of, fundamentally our role is to raise children that will become adults, that will then go out into the world and then live independendly, make their own choices. So it's thinking about what are the qualities that my child is going to need to be able to work within the adult world, but not from what skills do I need to have ticked off, but much more, what are the attributes? This is about, can they speak confidently? Can they manage conflict? Can they express their opinions? So when we do that, it's all value driven.
Yeah, and that for me, it baffles me that they're not taught that. We send children off to school and they're put into a playground full of 30, 40 other children, and it just expected to know how to make friends. It's like no one's taught those skills. I don't know if they're soft skills or I don't know, but they're important because that's what's going to see you through life.
Well, those interpersonal skills, that ability to get on with people and to manage conflict and to negotiate, whatever we're talking about with AI and, oh my goodness me, our children need to know X, Y, and Z, the interpersonal skills are never going to be replaced. Our ability as humans to connect with somebody, to be curious, to have those sorts of conversations is never going to be replaced. And so that, I feel, I could get into a whole conversation around education, but I won't. But that's what I think, that, ability to understand our emotions. And when you actually look at what are the predictors of success as we would typically see it, job title, income, and other things, it's all on what we call these soft skills. It's all about emotional intelligence. Unless you're doing the 1% of jobs where actually you don't want to have any empathy, because you don't want to be worried about investing other people's money, for example. You don't want to be predisposed with too much empathy. But the idea is that, I think when we do that reverse engineering, we are much less likely to fall into those pitfalls of, my child needs to be doing 5 different activities, I need to make sure that they get into this school, they need to study these GCSEs and other bits, because actually it's not. I think it's really even when you feel super clear and super strong-minded about not being influenced by others. I was really clear with that, and at the school gates, when I was asked about what reading level my child was at or whether they were getting enough homework or not, people knew not to have that conversation with me. I was not interested. All I cared about with my children was, were they being kind to other children, and were they being engaging in their lessons? That was all there is. So I think if every single parent, however strong they feel about their path, is going to be swayed. I had moments where I went back home and thought, oh my God, maybe this approach is wrong. They're not really doing other activities. They're just coming home and playing. Am I disadvantaging them? So it is going to happen. But that's where, when we have a tribe, that's the robustness, that's the accountability of, I found myself going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're right, it is completely natural to have that comparison, whether it's online, whether it's at the school gates. There is always that push-pull narrative of am I doing it right?
Yeah, am I screwing them up by not pushing for the 11 plus or the 8 plus or whatever it might be, and they're going to the wrong? We're always going to have that. And for some children, it may well be that, competitive schools are really great for them, but it isn't necessarily. And so I think for me, it's that if we can keep the reverse engineering in mind, we're more likely to be value driven. And to really sit when we're having this information being chucked at us about how we should parent. I mean, you know, the FAFO parenting, you know, does that sit well with me? Do I feel instinctively that that's the right approach for this particular child? Do I even need a label for it? Because this is what I'm doing anyway.
Exactly. And also I'm like, the key word here, people, is trend. It's a trend.
I know, but I think societally, it feels like, and it makes sense from your brain likes to kind of group things in a particular way, because then there's less of a cognitive load. It just goes, yeah, we parent this, we do this. So it takes that away. But I think when we just don't need, fundamentally, I don't think parenting has changed. It's about raising children to become adults that will want to leave home and want to be independent. So when we see our older children pulling away from us, we've done a great job. That does not mean that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because they are on their path to being independent adults.
So what I'm hearing is, for this mum that has this dilemma of, oh my God, am I the only one worried about screwing my kids up? No, you're not alone. And like, give yourself a little bit of grace, find your tribe.
And if you need to, have a little affirmation, you know, whether that's, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing. So when I know better, I'll do better. I'm doing a great job. Each day I'm showing up as the best version of me. Whatever it is that you need to repeat to yourself or have on the fridge that reminds you that you are enough, that you are doing your best for your children each and every day. And you're not screwing them up.
Not screwing them up. One of my friends always says this lovely thing to me whenever I'm having a spiral is, you are the best mum for Ted. Like, you are the best mum for your child. And it makes you look inwardly again. It kind of puts it back into perspective.
Yeah, totally.